looks like our first guest is here, which is awesome. Anna, we go ahead and let Anna unmute her mic. How are you, Anna?
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
That's great. Thank you. It's my first time using this tool, so I'm a little bit confused.
No
Hope
problem.
you can point out if I'm doing anything wrong.
Absolutely. Well, we're really glad to have you here. And where are you joining us today from?
I'm in France, so it's 1 o'clock here.
Great.
Nice to meet
One in the
you.
afternoon, so a nice,
At one
good,
in the afternoon.
yes,
Yeah.
nice, reasonable time of day for those of our friends in Europe. So we're glad you could join us. Great.
Right. Okay.
Well,
So I didn't know I was the first guest, so
no, that's okay. Welcome. We've been going for an hour, so we're glad to have you. At the bottom of your screen, you should see a share screen button, and you can click that and then share your desktop when you're ready, and we'll see your computer screen, and we look forward to seeing your demo.
Oh, the one. Okay, so demo as in...
Or do you have anything you want to show for pictures or editing today?
I can kind of go through what I do.
Yep, that would be great. Sure.
But I'm not really composed. But
No
where is the screen? Okay, there we go. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you all as well. I'll take a question or two while you're getting that open. So just click the share screen button at the bottom, and then there you go. Yep, you'll see your screen. Perfect.
All right. Okay, so I'm a self-portrait photographer, and I'm not really a photographer, but I'm a self-portrait. I usually take self-portrait in France. And my name is Claire, or Emma, then my Japanese name. And yeah, so I thought I'd like to share what my some of the Japanese Luminar users like, as in the Luminar feature that they like using my self-portrait. So, all right, is it okay to go proceed?
Absolutely, please do.
Okay. All right, so this is the photo I took in the park nearby, and recently I posted on Twitter. And so it's mostly template, mood, and face tools that I usually use. And so using this as an example, so this is a JPEG to begin with, but let's see what template is suggested. I don't usually do monochrome, but I like monochrome. Although, I don't know, it can be anything. It's really pretty anyway. But when I posted on Twitter, people liked it's that celebration, was it? I don't remember the English one. I changed this to Japanese already, but I think it was a celebration of some sort, and they like that. So I'm going to use this for the time being.
So you're in the color tool now, correct?
Yes, I mean the right. So it's all in
okay
Japanese,
to see it in
isn't
native
it?
language. Absolutely, we all use different languages. I'm just helping those following along so they know what tool you're in. That's all.
Yeah, this is light, as you see the symbol, I think, and yeah, where's the exposure? I like how it's not so dramatic. And then the face tool, though. Let's see. Where is the face tool?
So that'll be under. Yep, a little later. Click on there you go. Yep.
Using the different one, isn't it?
That's okay. You're using before the update, but it's the same tools. So there you go. So now you're in the Face AI first. Yep.
What's just happened? Anyway, so, okay, so it's working very slowly. That's what I realized. Lights, I did it too much.
Yep, you had a little too much light.
Yep. And the face tool, though, what is amazing is the lip tool. That when you bring up the exposure or shadow, we usually lose our nice Dior lip color, So that's what I love so much about.
Yep. So you're down in the face tool right there, and you're adjusting the different properties for the lips.
Yep. It's nice to have your lips standing out even while making the face looking kind of softer and more pale, but at the same time you want the lips to kind of pop out.
Yeah, so there's 4 sliders, which is great. From top to bottom, there's saturation, redness, darkening, and then teeth whitening. So the first 3 sliders are going to work with the color of the lips and the intensity. That's really nice how you brought the lips darker so that they weren't just being blown out or washed out.
Yeah, that's the last thing we want for the lips, and your face is looking kind of flat and so on. And I don't do too much with the eyes, but sometimes it's fun to do it. I think you'll go extreme. Okay, that looks like a manga, but
yeah, so you're using the eye enlarge there, and which is quite nice. And then I'm also a fan, I'll show in a moment, but if you want to play with it too, the ability to add an iris flare. It just puts a little bit of highlight into the eyes. Maybe you can zoom in, click on the eyes so we see them at 100%.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's a really nice effect. So she's adjusting the iris flare there, and you see how it just adds that little underlight to bring out the irises. Even though she didn't change the color of the irises, you could still use the Iris AI technology. Or there are colors if you want to audition those.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can layer in the same color you already had and just adjust it, or you can change the color very naturally, which is cool. So one secret sometimes is if you've got brown eyes, layer in the brown Iris AI and then adjust the slider to taste, which is cool. Very nice. I like the eyes are just beautiful there.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's been layered actually.
It is. Yeah, it's very subtle, which is cool. When you use the same color, it blends very naturally.
Nice.
Yeah, very cool.
And
very cool.
Slim face wise, it's kind of literally slims from the side, not from the bottom, so it goes kind of like I can't really do that extremely.
Yep. So it's a gentle pinch from the sides, which is very good.
And it'd be nice if you could have like a kind of squeezing from top and bottom too.
Yep.
Yeah, we want that.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Why don't you queue up another photo, and I'll do a quick another portrait example and show a few more things with portraits, and then when you have we'll come right back to you to see a second photo, and I'd like to hear another couple more of your approaches to working with those.
Did I close my screen? Sorry.
I already. You're fine. I already switched over, and then we'll switch right back to you here.
Okay.
Let's go here to a different skin type, and we'll tackle a male skin right now, and you'll see how it works on different skin types. So under the edit there, we were seeing the different tools. And so face, skin, body, and high key. So face is nice in that you can add more light. There was the slim face if you need to, and it does a very gentle slimming. You only really need that if there's lens distortion. I don't recommend going too far. Iris lets you layer in the new eye color, and then you could adjust its visibility so it's nice and subtle, or you can match the original one that's there. Sometimes layering in like a gray eye there on top of the existing eye is a very nice way to bring that to life. And then the flare puts the little glint on the bottom. Eye enhancer is going to selectively sharpen, and look at how it brings out the center of the eye. We can thicken the eyebrows. His eyebrows are pretty minimal there. Remove any dark circles. And whiten the eyes, the white area. We mentioned the lips, so we could put a little bit of redness and darken those lips just a touch. And if we go to skin, you'll see how we can smooth the skin to remove any sort of ruddiness there. Look at how it gently smooths out the skin, but it didn't destroy any of the texture there in his beard because it masked it out automatically. And then shine removal. And so you can see there what a natural look those two portrait adjustments did to really just finesse that. Then don't be afraid of accent and structure, because structure is skin tone aware. So if we crank up or reduce the structure, notice how it's aware of the skin tones, and so we could use that to create a little bit more blurring of the background. There we go. And a gentle feather. So I hope that that made sense there in those tools. I want to let Anna show us some more, but those tools are quite powerful to make subtle adjustments to portraits or dramatic adjustments. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. And do you have another picture that you can show us?
Yeah, it's not for really the face or body, but recently,
Sure. Just reshare your screen. Perfect. We got it. Awesome.
yeah. So recently I've got this. That was quite some time ago. That this field is colored in red at the peak season. And this is a park in Japan though, and it's hard to actually get into the park at the peak season and capture the all entirely red field. And then I was playing with local masking recently,
Yep.
and that was quite fun. So, and that's exactly what you did earlier. So
you've added in a basic adjustment now, and you can localize it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's not really perfect if you want to print that or something later on, but you know, for Instagram or something, that's exactly what you want.
Yeah. And if you press the / key, it'll also make that mask visible on or off if you need it. So cool. So that helps you kind of see it. So now you're going to adjust it?
Yep. Then where is the colors? I was using that in English before, so I'm not really.
Sure.
Oh, there you go. But yeah.
Nice. So just bringing out a hint of that red. Very cool. Very cool. So that you've changed the season because you couldn't be there at the ideal time, but you were able to simulate that look.
So that's how I could use. I was doing this on Photoshop many years ago, just, you know, cropping out everything and changing the colors and so on. But it looks quite nice. That's I recently used and realized.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
And is there anything else you would do to this photo that you would like to finish it, or do you like it where it is?
I would do. That's not really too much of face photos, so I would actually just use how do you call it? Skin fixing.
Yep. Just a little skin smoothing,
sure. Yeah,
yep.
Skin tool.
That's nice.
And I think because I'm facing to the side, slimming face doesn't really work, does it?
A little bit. It pulled that cheek in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, did a little tuck on the side of your cheek. Mine needs it much more than yours does.
Yeah, nice. Oh, it works quite well.
Yeah.
I haven't done it before, so yeah.
Very cool.
And as we talked about, lips maybe, because does it detect? Yes, it does. Nice.
So she's in our face tool here, and she's using the mouth tool, which gives you 4 sliders to control the color, the darkness, and the redness of the lips, and the ability, if there was teeth, to dial in a little bit of teeth as well. But since her mouth is closed, it will skip that. But very nice. That's a nice change of the color. I like how you unified that, which is cool.
That's true. The face has changed a little bit too.
Yeah. Why don't you go to the mood tool for a second as well, because this is a perfect place for the mood tool. It's under creative.
Creative.
Yeah. So,
mood.
And try some of those LUTs. So there's different, just mouse over them and you'll see different recipes. You could roll through that list. And for those of you wanting to do film stock simulation, these are a nice way to dial in color grades. And then,
those are nice.
Yeah, they're just quick and simple, and they simulate a lot of film stocks. And then you could adjust the intensity of the LUT as well as its saturation and contrast. So if you want to do a nice quick color grade, these are really easy ways to simulate film stocks or quickly dial that in, because you had a nice warmth there, and I like now how it's all unified with it feels like an autumn day as opposed to a spring or a winter day.
Absolutely. I could try replacing the sky too if it doesn't look so unnatural.
Yeah.
It has the sky. So
yeah. And then under your sky adjustments, you can defocus that so that it matches the shallow depth of field. I like the sunset. That's very nice.
Yeah, sunset. And defocus.
Yep. So towards the bottom of the sky adjustments, you'll have the ability to control its focus.
Oh, defocus.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And so she could blur that so it matches the rest of the image, which is cool.
Right. Nice. I don't know about this one, but either way.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm.
And I'm going to show you, I'm going to show one thing for a second on my screen if you want to queue up another example.
Absolutely.
So let me switch over here.
Yep.
And what we can do is if you are doing that sky replacement, something new that we introduced in version 1.2 is that ability to separately relight the scene. So if we layer in a new sky, let's actually, I'll do a different photo that you guys haven't seen before. Let's do this one. If we put that new sky back there, because maybe this felt boring, we can really control it. So we go under Sky AI, load in the new sky that we want. I'll go with something feeling more like a sunset. Then after you've layered it in, you want to blend it to match. So we mentioned under sky adjustments the ability to adjust the focus so that it really matches the rest of the scene. But now we have some more control. So you'll notice that you can freely place the sky now with orientation. So you could adjust that sky up or down in the scene. You can also offset it if you want to scale it into different directions. And it's going to affect your scene. So I'm just going to put in a blue sky, but a blue sky that wasn't quite as boring as the one that was there. Then using your mask refinement, you could play with the global strength as well as the fixed details. And that's going to allow you to dial that in to the right strength level for the blend. And then you can use your offset there to move it through the scene. And that will allow you to really pull that in. Then with the Relight Human slider, you could control the effect of that relighting on the scene itself and the person independently. So this works nicely. I'll show you one more sample here where we've got a sky similar to the one that Anna was just showing. And here we go. So when we layer that in, what we could do is really control that. So let's put a sunset in. It's going to analyze the scene, layer it in. Then what we need to do is adjust this. Now this is a JPEG, so sometimes JPEGs are going to create a little bit of halo. So what you can do is use the Fix Details slider here and a little bit of the global refinement. That's going to push that up. Now a RAW file is not going to suffer from so much of this. If you're dealing with a JPEG like this, where it's got a lot of halos and low res, stick with a sky that more closely matches the original, and then you can go a lot further with that fixed details and global. So that's going to be that secret there. So if you've got something like a JPEG, you can use that. Then using your offsets, you could reposition that as needed within the scene and adjust the amount that it relights. So it's important to use that Relight Human slider so it starts to pick up the color of the new sky so that looks more believable. And then you can adjust in your relighting amount. Now, as you stick with those colors in those images that are similar, you'll see that we can swap in different type of content and it handles it. And then using that horizontal offset, you could really position that where you need it to be and use the horizon blending if you want to create a gentle transition with the original horizon there as well. And you can move that up or down as needed to really place it in the right place. So hopefully you can see there how we were able to replace that, and that's on a pretty low quality JPEG. So that lets you dial it in, and then using your global refinement and the fixed details, that's what's going to clean up these fine areas. I also see that that background is out of focus, so it's important that the sky's focus matches. So use the defocus tools to dial that in. And you can even use atmospheric haze if you need to add haze so it matches the rest of the photo. There was a lot of haze and fog on the rocks here, so I added a little bit to the photo itself, to the sky, so it was a better composite. Okay, I'm going to pass it back to you, Anna, if you happen to have another example, and while you're queuing up, we'll answer any questions. So let's see here. Are the tools available regardless of the picture being used? Yes, the tools should be available. Composition AI is not available in the Photoshop plugin, guys, because the Photoshop plugin doesn't let you change the size, because Photoshop plugins can't change the size of the image before it goes back to Photoshop. So Comp AI isn't available in the Photoshop plugin. Okay, if you want to share another image, Anna, we're all set. Feel free.
Yes, I think they're going to be quite similar, so.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that's okay. And I would like to actually know what might match in the features of Luminar. If I could do something special with it. Where's the sky? Okay, I switched it off. So that's cherry blossom things I recently shot too, and I don't know why I put galaxy on there. But so I've got a little bit of sky there.
Yep.
So I thought they would do some sky in what you were just teaching us.
Very nice.
I could probably move that. Okay, so that's how it works.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then since your background's soft, you'll make your sky a little softer and it'll blend in perfectly. Very nice. Yeah, so that's the real secret there. Like, pay attention to what the rest of the focus is on the background. If your background's out of focus, your sky can't be in focus. It looks really fake. Now that looks believable. That's cool.
Right. Never done that before, so nice. And then my face is all white here. So maybe
yeah, and here's a trick to try, Anna. So go back into your global exposure for a moment, like with both exposure with the light tool, pull it down for a second.
Yep.
And then use a little bit of accent and it will fill in the contrast. So under Enhance AI at the top, it's all the way at the top. You're very, so there you, that's, sorry, not Comp, the other one, the one right below it. You should have Accent or Enhance AI. That'll just even out the exposure. It's under the basic group there. So go to your light tool. There you go. It should be near the top.
Accent AI here.
Yep, accent, perfect. A little bit of accent. And then what's cool with those face tools is you could actually add in face light. So back under your face tool, under the skin and the face, there's face light, which I love because it'll find the subject, and now she could just add light to only her face. So this way she could bring the face out, but darken the rest of the scene so that there was more contrast in the scene. That's cool. Yeah, you're really popping nicely there against the backdrop.
Yeah, that's true. And you can use the skin removal skin blemishes. That's quite dramatic, actually.
So under the skin there, what she did was she chose the automatic skin defects removal, and it looked and identified some blemishes and tightened those up. So that's very cool. It found them very nicely and then did a believable one. And if there was something that it didn't get or you wanted manual control, you could use our erase tool for that, which I'll show a little later.
Okay. Yeah.
Very cool. Let's see the before and after. Very nice. Wow. So a nice subtle adjustment and a change. Very cool.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Anna, thank you so much for joining us. You are a member of our team in Paris. What do you do with Luminar AI? What's your role with the team?
I do social media for Japan, Luminar Japan, and some copywriting stuff. So
very cool.
Very nice meeting you.
Awesome.
Nice speaking with you.
It was great to see you today. I appreciate you coming in and sharing some tips with us. That's very helpful. And folks, remember what's cool here is we are going to have guests from around the world. So thank you, Anna, for joining us. So Anna's a member of our Japanese team, but she's based in Paris. We do have team members from all over the world, and we'll be having some other guests coming in just a moment as well. We'll be joined by Alex Sepko at 9 o'clock. He's going to be sharing some other tips with us and answering your questions. Anna, thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Have a great day to you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, well, let's tackle some of your questions that you guys had. And I'm going to bring up some different images here. And I see a question, can I use this as a Capture One plugin? So we are not currently supported on Capture One as a plugin, but you can use us as an external editor with Capture One, so that works just fine. In about 3 minutes, Piet van den Dijn from the Netherlands is going to be joining us. So Piet is a great portrait photographer. He's going to be sharing some stuff. He's also a Lightroom expert, and he uses Luminar with Lightroom all the time to get things done. So we're going to be hearing from Piet up next, but I'm going to tackle a few more of your questions, so that's fine. Oh, I'm sorry that the Q&A window is in the way of the image. You guys are seeing my Q&A window while I'm teaching? Or her Q&A window is in the way of the image. Hopefully it was hers. But we'll double check and make sure that those are not being shared. If they are, then let me know. And we'll make sure that those are not being shared when we're sharing the screen. Let me go ahead and hide that. Hopefully that goes away now. So hopefully the Q&A window is not obscuring anything right now. So you guys can see that. Perfect. Good. Your chat or QA does show. You're still seeing it? Because I just turned it off. Hopefully it's not. Okay, so I'm going to reshare right now and let me know. Hopefully the chat window and the Q&A window are not being displayed. If they are, please tell me. Use the chat there to let me know if you're seeing chat or Q&A windows. I've hidden them and hopefully they're not coming in. It's gone. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Sorry we didn't catch that before. Thank you guys for letting us know. All right, let's go in and edit another picture, and then in a second, Piet's going to join us, and he's going to share some techniques. I want to do a bit of an outdoor photo here. Let's do a cityscape, and we'll take this one here with the tracks and the low angle. So again, using templates, it can scan the image and quickly pull things in. So I see a question. You're almost away from background removal. Is this something we'll see in the future? Time will tell. So there's lots of things we can do. We're starting with skies. We're doing bokeh for background blur, but we'll see what happens. Here it suggested urban style. It recognized this, and very quickly I can start to bring out. So here's an actual preset for New York, which is a cool, nice, colorful, popping look. And it sort of brings out those colors of New York with those flatter, contrasty areas, which is nice. Using the edit area, structure is the real hero here. So make sure you take advantage of structure. It's really going to provide that nice localized contrast there. And look at how it helped bring out those train tracks. Don't over rely on shadows and highlights. Shadows and highlights aren't even touched in this image. As we mentioned, come down to super contrast instead, and use your shadows contrast and your highlights contrast. And then you could balance that out, and that's going to really let you get that right balance there so that you've got proper contrast and exposure in those two zones. So you can use that. That works quite nicely. And then under glow, the Orton effect is a really nice way to adjust the amount of light in the scene, and you can control how soft that is. If you don't want it to be very soft, just lower the softness value, and you could add nice soft light to the scene without getting blooming. So it's a great way to just gently lift things up, and that works quite nicely to really layer that in. So hopefully that makes sense. We can really dial that in, and perfect. All right, when Piet gets here, feel free to let me know, and or Piet, you can unmute yourself when you're here. And I'm going to tackle a couple of more questions that I see in the chat pod. So let's see here. You say, and you asked me, 1 second. Any templates for diving or underwater photography? Yes. I don't have a diving image loaded, but we do have a template there for underwater. And there's also a lot of LUTs on the market that you could find for adjusting underwater images. I'll find one of those a little bit later. When I replace the sky, how do I prevent halos, which are often quite wide? So part of that is starting by matching a sky that's more similar to what you already had. So if you're going to replace the sky, do that. Another is make sure that you've not adjusted the shadows and highlights on the image, especially before you bring it in. If you start adjusting shadows and highlights on your image, that's going to start to produce halos. So you want to avoid that because that will add to the halo. Additionally, under Sky AI, take a look at the new Fixed Details slider and the Global Strength slider. that's going to allow you to dial that in nicely so that you don't get halos around your object. So global strength and fixed details work well, and consider adjusting the relight strength. So if you're seeing a halo, use the relight strength to match the scene to the new sky's exposure, and that's going to cut down on any sort of halo. So I hope that that gives you your answer, Michael, on how to deal with those problematic areas. That'll really finesse that and bring that in quite well. Okay, I'm going to do another example. Hopefully our next guest will arrive soon. So let's tackle a completely different type of problem. And let's go back to a portrait editing example. So I like this photo both because it's a great moment, but it's also technically hard. We've got faces upside down, right side up, mouths open, mouths closed. Let's take a look at templates first, and you see it suggested the Essence collection, making it really nice, and I like this flawless preset. This template does a great job of just instantly fixing a bunch of things, and it pulled it all in. It also did a little body AI adjustment there just to pull in the a little bit on the thing. Now, if you don't want that, you can remove it, but let's start with our portrait tools. I'm just going to turn off the body adjustment, and we'll begin with face. First up, teeth whitening. Notice how it found the mouths that were open and was able to whiten those teeth. Put a little lip darkening there, and just a touch of redness. Now, what I really want are the eyes to pop, and this gets tricky. So what we can do here is use Eye Enhancer, and that's going to find the eyes and help bring them out. Additionally, you might try layering in the same color eye. So instead of changing the color of the eye, layer in the same color. And then you could adjust the visibility of it and the iris flare. And notice here how it recognized that this was the bottom of the eye here and that this was the bottom of the eye. So even though they're at different body positions, it knew that this was the bottom of his eye and the bottom of her eye. And it put the flare in the right place and also masked it. So now we'll just pull the dark circles out a little bit and thicken the eyebrows. I call those the vignettes of eyes. So you can thicken the eyebrows a little bit just to draw out the eye, and we'll whiten them just a touch. Look at what a nice job that did on the eyes. We are able to really bring those eyes to life very quickly. So that was the eyes section. We did the mouth section. I'm going to not bother slimming the faces, but put just a touch of face light in. Now from skin defects removal will analyze the skin and remove minor defects while still preserving character and texture spots. So it's pretty subtle. You can also do a little shine removal here to cut down on some of the glare on the skin and smooth that. I'll do the same trick I mentioned earlier. Bring out your enhance, but don't be afraid to lower the exposure a little bit and play with smart contrast. Smart contrast is very useful to get the right contrast in the scene. And often negative smart contrast is the way to go if you've got too much contrast in your shadows. So rather than blowing those highlights out and blowing the blacks out, I just reduced the smart contrast, and that really dialed that in quite nicely, which works really, really well. So that lets us pull it in very well and kind of get that where it needs to be. So this works nicely and lets us dial that in to get our dedicated look. Doug, if you have a chance, feel free to send Pete an email. Just make sure he's still planning on coming. I know it's a live event, so sometimes people get their times wrong, but let him know if he's able to make it. We still welcome him. All right, so here we go. I'm going to put a little bit of additional enhance in there. There's the accent and a touch of structure. And watch how structure brings out the clothing, right? It's putting those nice details into the fabric and the hair, but it didn't touch our faces, which works really well. Then under color, we've got a wonderful remove color cast tool. And so this is great if you've got an unwanted color cast, you can pull that down, and it's an alternative to white balancing, and it's a nice way to do that. Additionally, I see that we've got a little bit of blue light coming in from the window here. So that's very simple. I could just go to the saturation slider and pull down my blue light a little bit. And now we tone down that blue sunlight that was interfering with the rest of the photo. And we've neutralized that color cast very locally here and still preserve the color in the rest of the image. Bring out a little bit of the oranges and a little bit more of the reds. And you can see what a nice job that did, removing that distracting color of blue washing in from the side window light while still preserving the rest of the colors. Okay? So hope that makes sense. We only have one mask there on the landscape tool. So there was a question, what about controlling that? So if I wanted to bring in golden hour, for example, I could do that. And then using the mask here, I can control where that went. So if I wanted to put a radial mask, for example, maybe I want that golden hour to be more directed at their faces. I could really come in there and finesse that to dial that in, which works well. Let's pull this in tighter for a moment. Notice I can also change the shape. So I can make this more of an ellipse, position that, and now adjust the shape of that so that it's just covering the faces. There we go. Position that, and I can even rotate it a little bit. So now I've got that golden hour there on their faces. Welcome, Pete. We'll get to you next. I like that. And here's what's cool. I can copy that mask and use it someplace else. So if I wanted to, for example, we can come down here to the color harmony and I can warm that up. But then what I can do is paste that mask in so that it reused that mask. And now it's only adding that color harmony there in that area. And I could invert that mask if I wanted. There we go. So that's a little strong, but notice there how it's only putting that color harmony adjustment on their actual faces. So, and nowhere else in the scene. So if I wanted to warm up their faces and bring out the brilliance there just a little bit, you'll notice that with that targeted mask, it only applied to the face zone. So you could reuse masks like that.